If you have found that your site qualifies, you can move on to filling out the qualifying site form. To find the form, go to eatwellbewell.org/contractors/housekeeping/the-basics. Or go to eatwellbewell.org, scroll to the bottom of the page, click Contractors, then click the Housekeeping tab, and choose the Basics from the menu. Once on this page, click on the most recent qualifying site form to download it. The form is an Excel sheet with 3 different tabs: Sites, which you do not need to enter data on; Sites-Schools, which you choose if your site is a school; and Sites-Non-Schools, which you choose for any site that is not a school. Once you find the tab that corresponds with your site, you will need to fill out the following information. The first thing to fill out is the site type. This is the first column in each tab. If you are filling out the Sites-Schools tab, you do not need to do anything with this column. In the Sites-Non-Schools tab, there will be a drop-down list with options used to describe site. For example, if you were filling out the column for a public housing facility, you would choose P as your site type. The next step is to type in your site name into the second column. If you are filling out the Sites-Schools tab, you need to select your school from the drop-down list. Next, fill in the street name, the city, state, zip, and county information for your site. The next column to fill in is the low-income documentation and participant data information. If you're filling this out for a school and found that it qualified through autofill, you can skip this step as it will already be filled in for you. Otherwise, use the data that you have found in previous steps that qualify your site. The first part of this is to type in the documentation that states your site qualifies. You would type which database, the ACS Census Data or the CA-CFP Mapper, whichever you use that confirmed your site will qualify. Next, type in the percentage of people at your site that you found on that specific database to be at or below the 185% federal poverty level. For instance, if you used the ACS census data and found that 56.8% of your target population in your site were at or below 185% of the federal poverty level, you would type ACS census data alongside your tract number in the low-income documentation column and 56.8% in the participant data box. If you were using the CA-CFP data, you would write CA-CFP Mapper less than 19 years, less than 185% FPL. Keep in mind that all DES, WIC, emergency food, and public housing service settings qualify 100% in participant data, and the documentation for these sites are simply what they are. For instance, for a public housing facility, you would type public housing site into the documentation column and 100% in the participant data column. The last column to fill out is the reach column. This is an estimate of the amount of people that will be taught or influenced at your site. The first part of this is participants, which is the amount of people that are taught for the first time at your site. The second part of this is contacts, which are the amount of people that you teach more than once. Contacts are counted each time they are taught. For instance, if you have a class of 12 students that you plan to teach 4 lessons to, and you estimate that they will show up for all 4 lessons, you would have 12 participants for the first lesson and 12 contacts each for the second, third, and fourth lessons. Overall, you would have 12 participants and 36 contacts because contacts are only counted after the first time they are taught. If you are teaching classes at public housing, and you estimate that you will teach 100 people, but only 50 of those same people will come back for another class, you would have 100 participants and 50 contacts because only 50 people are being taught more than once. If your site does not fall under a service setting of schools, public housing, emergency distribution sites, WIC, DES, CA-CFP, or gardens, then you will need to submit a document along with this waiver. You will need a new site justification form for each site. You can get this form from your regional coordinator. If your site does fall under these categories, you do not need this additional document. Once you are completely done with the form and any other necessary documents, send the final copy of this form to your regional coordinator. This concludes the tutorial for the qualifying site form process. If you have any further questions, contact your regional coordinator or re-watch these videos at any time.